Justin Myrick, discussing topics from education to finance. All the advice you'll need on life right here, you'll find it. With kings who weathered every climate and come out shining, so come and get inspired. My uncles and me, it takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me. It takes my uncles and me.
What's up, family? Thank you for tuning into the My Uncles and Me podcast, a podcast with a purpose where we have accomplished older men give advice to a younger man on their insight, their wisdom, their knowledge, how they got to be where they are, and what they would say to the younger generation that's coming up after them. So, if that's what you like to hear, then stay tuned. Welcome to the very first episode of the My Uncles and Me podcast. Woo! Yes, I am more than excited, and I think that we have the perfect uncle for the podcast to kick off this series. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. D. Scott McHam, aka Mr. Empowerment.
What's going on, nephew? How you doing today, man?
Doing good.
Hey,
good
man,
to see
thank
you
you for having me out. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to be here today.
I'm honored to have you on the show.
Absolutely, I'm excited.
Well, let me read your bio just so other folk can know who you are. So on the surface, D. Scott McHam is an accomplished tax and small business consultant with over 30 years of experience in the tax and entrepreneurial markets. Scott always ensures he provides the utmost professional treatment, whether his client is an individual employee or a small business owner. He is a proud native of Spartanburg, South Carolina, and is the first of 10 siblings. 10 siblings. Mr. McHam attended elementary school at Fremont Elementary, Spartanburg School District 7, Getty's D. Broom High School District 3, and Spartanburg Methodist College and Winthrop University, where he studied psychology and sociology. He is the founder and CEO of Alpha and Omega Tax Business, LLC Partnership, and CFO of Business Elite Group International, board member with Black Economic Mobility Coalition, community liaison, mentor and workshop facilitator for My Brother's Keeper Alliance of South Carolina, notary public, youth advocate with certifications in teen pregnancy prevention, child protection services, and Triple P, Positive Parenting Programs of America. More than his role as a tax and small business professional, he is also effective at educating, mentoring, and influencing teenagers and young professionals throughout his community and state of South Carolina. His opinions are highly valued. People trust and respect his judgments. He is a strong youth advocate, and I've seen that first place. In particular, he focuses on topics like sustainable development, self-employment, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. These are great accomplishments considering that he was labeled ADD as a child and was a product of special education and was often told that he wouldn't be able to effectively communicate. Well, they didn't know, now did they? He first developed a passion for entrepreneurship at 13 when he began cutting grass and raking leaves for his neighbors and surrounding neighborhoods. Scott's fascination with business grew and stuck with him throughout high school, college, and even till today. He has owned retail stores, janitorial companies, tax offices, and more. He was named Mr. Empowerment by a deceased mentor, Jim Wood, real estate investor, that he used to facilitate seminars for the sales of his real estate investment courses. He is also an acronymist. Scott's motto is enlighten, encourage, and empower. So,
Hey, man, look. That was just chapter 1, right?
Hey, it's a great chapter 1, if you ask me.
Hey, man, that's great. You said I included everything, but I didn't think you would read it all. But that's good. It reminded me of how old I am.
To me, I was like, he is the very first guest on the first episode. You gotta do him right.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you for coming.
Right.
So.
All right.
Yes, sir. So I've got some questions here for you.
Okay.
I guess the first one would be, how did you get the name Mr. Empowerment? And what was that story like?
Well, actually, the mentor that you mentioned latter in my bio, Mr. Jim Woods, it was Jim Wood and Associates. He's pretty much like a real estate guru in the area. And I used to open up for him. I used to introduce him. You know, just like you gave me that great introduction.
Yes, sir.
I would talk about him, and then I would introduce him and bring him out. You may be a little young and may not remember this, but there used to be a lot of infomercials on. A lot late at night, they used to show infomercials on real estate investing, how you could flip houses. Let me teach you my course. So he had a course, and we were in a group called Net Worth USA. But it was all about us coming together as a group. We had a portal we would go in, and we would find real estate investors all over the country. And we would find properties for them. And I would play like a middleman, right? So basically introducing him before he would come out and do his real estate workshops, like in your Marriotts and all that stuff on Saturday morning. I would be the guy that would bring him out, right? So one evening, we had one. It wasn't in the day, it was the evening. And he was getting ready to announce, but he wasn't feeling well that day. He said, "You're going to be presenting tonight." And I said, "I am. We're behind the curtain now." And okay. And I said, "Okay, I will." So because I had seen it enough to understand the PowerPoint presentation.
Right.
So he's announcing me, introducing me, and he says, and we call him Mr. Empowerment. And I said, "They do?" I'm behind this curtain. I'm behind the curtain saying, "Oh, they do? I guess they do." So when we came out, after any time that I was speaking, he would announce me. He would just say that name. He would say that name. So the tagline, enlighten, encourage, and empower, came later. Right. And this really came through Facebook.
Really? Through Facebook?
Yeah, I began doing a quote of the day, pretty much quote for today. So I would put a number for, quote for, and then the number 2 and day. And that became just kind of like a stamp for me, man. So I would put quote for the day. Good morning, fam. Quote for the day. Mm-hmm. And then I would like quote a paragraph or quote a poem. And then from that paragraph or poem, I would summarize it and help it line up with life, mainly my life. You know,
right.
So when I was going through something, I would really be speaking to myself instead of just speaking to the public, okay? So I said, well, it's got to be something else but just Mr. Empowerment. What do you do? And I do enlighten. I always like to teach people. I taught special ed for 6.5 years. I came back to teach what I was, right? Mm-hmm. So I taught special ed at E.P. Tar Elementary for 6.5 years, self-contained, same thing I went through as a child, right? Go figure, right? So I would love to teach. I'm always loving to give information and teach. So that's the enlightened side of it, right? Mm-hmm. Then encourage is motivating. I hate to see people down, man. I hate to see them depressed. I'm always trying to say something funny or do something to motivate or pump people up. So you had to enlighten and teach. Then you have encourage to motivate, right, and pump up. And then empower is basically, empowerment means to give somebody the power to do something. So I always say, what have I given you that you can walk away with that could help you with your life or your endeavors, like with your podcast or your business? So that's where it came from: enlighten, encourage, empower. Teach and motivate, give them the blueprint. This is how you do it. Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's really what's up. So I guess one of the other ones was, so I do have some business questions for you, and I do have some, I guess, just some like more general life questions. Okay. But I guess what's one thing that what made you want to get into, being like a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur. Man, listen. I tell this story a lot. My grandmother used to say, "Tell on yourself and take the power away from everybody else," right? So my family had been known, especially the guys in this city. I'm a native of Spartanburg. We would be hustling, man. You know what I mean? We would always hustle and make $1. You understand? So I would see old uncles and stuff, whether it was in your car playing card games, or I was selling as a child. I would sell hair bows, yo-yos, lipstick, fingernail polishes. Oh, and I always knew what they wanted to buy. And my biggest client was always females. Females, I buy the little black rubber bands for the little girls to go on their little girls' pigtails and ponytails. So I would always I've always been, I think guess what they call that ADD side. I was always a critical thinker, man. I'm always thinking there's no, people say outside the box, I didn't have a box. So I always wanted to, my mother looked at me because I did not like these pair of Jeepers. We called them Jeepers when I was growing up. I wanted a pair of Converse All-Stars, the brand new Converse All-Stars. And she came in the house with something else, right, that looked like them, but they wasn't those. And you know how kids can be mean and pick with each other. And I was like, they're going to pick with me. And she said, if you don't like what I buy you, buy your own. So I started thinking it, and that's when that critical thinking kicked in. And I said, you know what? I figured out. And then, man, boys, we would put lawnmowers together, bikes together, whatever. So I had an old piece of lawnmower and a milk jug. You still could get gas with a milk jug. And I went and got some gas, tied my milk jug on there, and I started cutting grass throughout the neighborhood. So in those same yards, I figured out sooner or later I could rake the leaves too in the wintertime. So I would make money throughout my neighborhood and the other corresponding neighborhoods that were around. And back then, $20 was a lot of money. You know, you talking about, oh man, you talking about late 70s, man. 70s. So we would make good money, and I just never stopped. And when my brothers was like, you know, will you buy me some candy and stuff? I said, well, if you're if I'm gonna buy it, you gonna help me.
Right.
So they began to help me, and then from there I just always through college I would sell Black History T-shirts. Then when I got out, my cousin and we would sell Negro League, we would sell Tommy Hilfiger. Then sooner or later somebody showed me how to get a retail license, and then with that $50 retail license, most people don't know that you can buy wholesale.
Really?
So I started buying jewelry, furniture, everything, and recruiting people. I was just always like that, even as a kid in the neighborhood. I wondered why I was the smallest, but everybody followed me. You know what I'm saying? They would listen to what I would say. So I was like, hey, so let's try this, let's try that. And I just never stopped. I fell in love with entrepreneurship and fell in love with working with young people like myself. So that's what I do every day.
Wow, so you've been at it for a while.
A long time.
Like,
12 years old.
whew.
Yeah.
Getting to it though, but I do like how you were always thinking of what would sell, or you know, what people would buy into.
Right.
You know, I think that is one thing that as like entrepreneurs kind of think of. Okay, it's like, oh, everyone wants to start their business, but then they think of, okay, what do I sell, or rather, what would people, you know, buy?
Right. And most of the time, it's you know, you find what's selling, but people don't actually buy your product first. They buy you. They buy into you. You know,
Well,
when you talking to somebody, and it's little things and keys that we learned in sales. You know, I had one of the greatest salesmen on the planet, Mr. Joel Dudley Sr., as a mentor once with in the hair care industry. He's a pioneer of his own product with Dudley Products, right? And those were things he would teach us, you know, how to he had a formula how to make $1 million with 100 clients, right? And he had these strategies and tactics that he was using. Not necessarily everybody who used them made $1 million, but we became pretty successful, you know, with strategies and things we would use for our clients, their children, different things that would tap into the feeling or the sympathy of the people. Mm-hmm. You know, once you talk to somebody, if you're shaking your head, the gestures you do, if they're nodding their head too, eventually they're going to nod it too, and they're going to start agreeing with you. So it's a lot of things in sales you learn that can help you. I just knew that I was good at selling to women. I was very good at selling female products, from perm to perfumes to shoes to jewelry. They would buy, especially in the salons. Salons and barbershops and stuff. Yeah.
All right then, I like that. So like, what would you say are some other, I guess, like sales, like really good like sales techniques that you've learned?
Yeah, it's a good bit of them. I mean, you know, you things we would do is say like every time you get a no, you have to keep telling yourself that you're one more closer to your yes. All right. Be realistic. Be realistic in your sales goals. Instead of saying, well, I'm gonna, we want to make $1 million, right? We want to make a few million. But if you realistically put some things in front of you on paper, and when you put it on paper, it comes to life. Remember that, right? When you put it on paper, it comes to life. It always does, because it's gonna remind you every time you look at that paper. If you haven't done something, that's gonna remind you of what you promised. You promised yourself that you're gonna do. So you can't blame anybody else, right? So good sales tactics were man, always, eye contact with a person. Always smile. You understand? Always be ready to explain your product, but always have a story behind your product and what it does for you. A mentor once taught me that facts tell. It's a fact that this product does this or it does that. But the people not buying the facts for that product, they're buying your story. Facts tell, stories sell. So that was one of the always have a story. If you're in sales anyway. I never considered myself as a good salesperson. I always sold me. And if they like me, they buy what I had, into what I had. It's still to this day. A lot of people identify not really with the product, they will identify with you.
I like that. Okay.
It's old stuff, man.
True. I hope everyone who's watching had written that down on a notebook. Or a journal, because that is one thing. Because when I met you, I think at the AC Hotel, I do remember you were talking about write the vision, make it plain. Right. That is one thing I remember you talking about.
Write the vision, make it plain, man. Right. It'll go into action, and apply. You have to apply, like people say, I am, right. And being an acronymist, which is pretty much making meanings of words out of the letters of a word. For instance. Being poor, we learn, has nothing to really do with money at times. It has to do with mindset. It's more of a poor mindset. Why? POOR stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly. That's the definition it is to me. That's my definition of it.
Okay.
Right? And what does rich stand for? Realizing that I change history. It's kind of like a mentor, Vernon Beatty, once told me. I wanted to see something change for the young people in the city, and I was complaining. I was maybe 13, sweeping the sidewalks in Spartan Territory. He gave me a job then, because once I started making money, man, I always wanted an opportunity to make money. Whether it was McDonald's, whatever, I was working. I was always working, right? So sweeping, and I was complaining, and he looked at me and he said, Scott, repeat after me. If it's to be, it's up to me. So I stopped worrying about what everybody else was doing and wasn't doing.
Right.
I would just do it. Same thing with the youth and how you met me. All that came from some people didn't want to speak that was on that board or didn't want to do something that day. But guess what? With me, I didn't know what the opportunity might have been when I got there, but it was an opportunity. And opportunities are not postponed. Opportunities are not missed. They're not missed. They're postponed or delayed. I just ignore it, right? People say, I ain't got time for that. That's why I say with the passing of opportunity repeatedly. When you see that opportunity, you're either going to seize that moment. I mean, you wouldn't be where you are right now, and the things that you've done, your moms and father them with the talent agency wouldn't be where they are if they didn't seize the moment, if they didn't put action to it, right? So now when a person like me, when I say I am means something to me. Right. It's not just saying something in the church or saying something somebody told you to repeat. It means something. I'm an acronymist, right? So I am is going to stand for idea, action, and manifestation. Right? You got an idea, you got to act on it. People say knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Because there's a lot of people smart and with knowledge that do nothing but sit on that talent or sit on that knowledge. Is when you put legs to that knowledge and action to it, it will manifest, right? So you have to believe in these words. So words do have power.
I've been noticing that more and more these days. That, you kind of, or as mom says, you have what you say you're going to have.
You have what you say you're going to have.
She says that every day.
Yeah. So, I am entrepreneur. I am Mr. Empowerment. I am this. I am that. You have to speak these things to yourself. We're our biggest cheerleader, but we are definitely our biggest enemy too. It's always in between these two eyes right here. So you good books you would read for stuff like that. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Um, I got a group now that I'm going through it as a man thinketh with right now. So we go chapter to chapter, and I mentor and teach these young men. So just things like that, and center yourself around people likewise, man. People who are motivated in doing what you're doing. People who are interested in doing what you're doing. Because it's a lot of people have become immune to you if they grew up with you or they know you. You're just Justin. I'm just Scott. But you'll go across the world one day and meet people all over this country and the world. They'll treat you like you on this pedestal, and you wonder why you don't get it at home. Well, guess what? Jesus had to leave his people too, didn't he? Before they would believe he would perform miracles.
True.
So who am I? So that's just the way that I think, man. There's no box. I'm kind of all over it.
No, I like it. I do remember hearing someone say that you are like the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with. Yeah, I've heard that for like a while now, and they're like, if you hang out with these 5 people, then like you're most likely to be them.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a mentor said there's at least 7 watching you at all time. It might not be the same 7, but they're always watching you, right? Somebody is. And that holds true because I've had someone come back years later, and say, you still doing such and such? Yes, I am. Well, you know what? I'm going to invest in this thing. But if I would have said no, they probably and I was just about to put some money in or something. You just never know, man. It's no secret to success, Justin. You just have to start and don't quit. That's the formula.
That's also the hardest part too. Sometimes that's the hardest part. It's just not quitting.
Not quitting, man. Not quitting. Well, you're on your way though.
Well,
this is
you.
where it begins.
True. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well.
Yes, sir. I have a few more.
Okay.
So I noticed that you are a very technology forward person. And I say that because I've noticed some people, they're very quick to embrace technology, or they aren't as quick to embrace technology. And I've noticed the ones that don't adapt to it quickly, they're more, I don't want to say they're more apt to get left behind, but it is harder to catch up. So I'm curious as to, I guess, just what your thoughts are on AI and how you see that kind of like affecting, I guess, your area of business.
Well, I have mixed emotions about it. I'm careful with AI. It's where you solve something or you create where it takes less time to do things, or you make it a little faster, easy here, you kind of hinder somewhere else too sometimes. We have to be careful with it where I feel right now we don't become totally dependent on it. Because remember, the most powerful mind is the one on your head. That's the most powerful computer. That's your mind, right?
Yes, sir.
The mind builds the computer, right? Right. So I spend a lot of time doing a little bit of both. I must admit, I'm an app developer. I can develop apps. I can build your websites. I have tinkered and played around with the Chat GPT and your AI with that, and in the writing, just so that I can stay ahead. Now, the youth advocate side of me is what has blessed me to be versed or learned in it anyway. There's a lot of young people that taught me something.
Right.
Or they'll say, well, Mr. Scott, did you see this? Do you know this? And in order for me to be able to communicate effectively, now I can communicate a little pretty good now,
Yes, sir.
Than I could when I was a child. But I communicate with young people, and I'm always trying to be that, and I really hate to use the word try. I'm always pushing, striving to use my talent and wisdom to help somebody younger. Right. I'm that youth advocate for a reason. When I say the computer, it's easier to program a new computer than it is to reprogram an old one. right? So, and I realized that with young people, even if the Bible tells me that a child can lead, then the child can lead, right?
Right.
It just depends on what you teach that child. So I spend a lot of time teaching young people um, some tricks. You know, we used to have a saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I think I bust through that because I get taught a lot of stuff. You know, I'm
Right.
56 years old sitting here today, and I get taught a lot of stuff from young people that I'm able to understand and use. So you know, I thank God, man. I was blessed with being able to understand young people better than people my own age. You know, really. You know, so I mean, you can get on my nerves when you're my age because I got to. You ask me about something, and as I'm telling you, you still stand stuck on the old way, which is no longer working.
Right.
And you know, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, Justin, is the definition of insanity. You understand?
Yes, sir. I've heard that one before.
Yeah, you're gonna get the same results. Why are you trying to put new wine in old skin? You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So what I do is when they say that, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, I say true, but guess what? I can teach a young one some old ones though. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So when I teach them the old ones and how we did it and how I was brought up with it, and I'm sure you was because I met your parents, so I know I could see the upbringing. You understand what
Yes,
I mean?
sir.
But a lot of young people don't have that upbringing. So when I grab a young guy like you met with a Brad or you met with an Antoine over MBK, all of these people were mentored with me, not because I approached them, they approached me. And they asked, you know. People, you know, I always tell you to remember this. You'll get the right answer if you ask the right questions. Don't ask one question and expect something else. You know, don't put into something over here and then expect to get this out of it when you putting in this in it that's going to get you something else.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. You got to write it, make it plain, be precise, follow it like clockwork, make your blueprint.
All right, guys. So we are back. So, Mr. McHam, earlier you mentioned that you do work with My Brother's Keeper. Okay. So tell me just a little bit more about how you got involved with it and like all that it is, just for those who don't know.
Who don't know? Well, My Brother's Keeper is a national organization which was founded by our former president Barack Obama. Okay, our sisters portion of it. It pretty much it's automatic. It comes in with it. Because actually in Spartanburg, in this area in the upstate, we started with all girls.
Really?
And it was all girls because I mentioned that mentee, Antoine Tate, he was the one that actually brought My Brother's Keeper to Spartanburg. We used to do the God Squad before that in Youth United. So we were always doing something. We were doing what we do with My Brother's Keeper anyway, before it was one. So for those parents though that want a program similar to what we're doing, because each My Brother's Keeper in whatever state, you got your foundation, but we all do a little something different with programming and stuff with that. But it's in DC. You got My Brother's Keeper, our Sister's Keeper in North Carolina. We just got back a month ago in Raleigh. With supporting one of the My Brother's Keeper there, young lady that's doing a great job there with hers. They travel here. We have a regional summit coming up in May, and I'll keep you posted with that here in Spartanburg. But it is national. We just did a along with the YMCA, but we were the only My Brother's Keeper group there with the YMCA because we have a partnership now in this area in South Carolina. We have a partnership with the YMCA's now. My Brother's Keeper does. Okay. Yeah. So we're coming together, working together, helping to address a lot of the issues with our young people in Spartanburg County in the upstate. The reason why I talk a lot about Spartanburg, I'm a native man, and I feel that I have to do work in my own backyard before I go anywhere else anyway. Right. That's if it's to be, it's up to me. But we're everywhere, man. My Brother's Keeper is in DC, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina. It's in Georgia. So you could Texas, San Antonio. It's one of the big ones that we deal with. We met some people. So I would go to like MBK. .com, mybrotherskeeper.com, and you could pull up if it's somewhere parents in your area and you would want a child to be a part of it. I would contact one of the local branches in that area. But if you're in South Carolina, make sure you go to mbkasc.com.
All right. I like that. So I guess following on the mentorship aspect, for people who, along with My Brother's Keeper, but for people who, let's say, don't have like a Scott McHam or like a Lisa Lopez in their lives, what is some of the advice you would kind of give to them?
Okay. That they can, it's that action we talked about. You got the idea that I feel like I need somebody to mentor me in something. I would say do like a Anton Tate, do like a Brad Nelson, do like a Son of Ice with Sound of Learning. That I always teach them to approach people. I teach you how to approach somebody first of all. But most successful people, especially whether they're millionaires, whether they just somebody big, a big figure in your city, they really want you to approach them.
Really?
Yeah, remember I said facts tell but stories sell. There's a lot of, if you're self-made millionaire anyway, they want to tell their story. You want the story. See, if people didn't buy into the story, you wouldn't have this podcast, you wouldn't have reality shows, you wouldn't have movies, you wouldn't have social media. People buy into stories all day long. I mean, it's a fact that we got these mics and stuff, but they ain't buying into that. They buying into the story you're going to tell, right?
Right.
And so when why I say recruit, the passion, a lot of people have skill, Justin. A lot of people have skill, and I teach all my mentees this. You got a bunch of skills, but tell me, what are your skills doing for you right now? And with nothing. Why? You know why? Because you're not making them do anything. You're not taking that skill, putting legs to it. You're not doing the work. And I don't care if you work a job, you self-employed. Sometimes self-employed, you probably seen your mom them work more hours outside of the job than they did in the job. But they don't do it and be tired like they was in the job. Why? Because they got that passion with it. If you find somebody that's passionate, you can teach them something and they'll go back and work on it and do something with it. People who are not passionate about it, you can train them all day long, and when they get there, next time you talk to them and say, did you ever get to that, or did you do that? Guess what they're gonna say? Nah, I guess I will when I get time. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's it. Recruit the passion, man, and then practice the magic of part-time. Practice the magic of part-time.
Okay, I like that. So,
you got a job now? You just doing this?
Well, I've recently signed a contract with USC Upstate.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay. So I'll be doing that and this and some few other things as well. But yes, sir. But I do like the getting someone who's hungry.
Right. Well, it's what's good in this country is you can be self-employed and employed at the same time. Right. So when you're self-employed, some people say, well, I want to leave this job. Whenever I have an adult client sit in front of me, and most of them are adults that's working a job, they've been at BMW, they've been somewhere, and they say, man, I want to start my own company. It's good to have someone to talk to that's going to really talk to them and give them the real tea. You know what I mean?
Right.
About what's going on. Just say, well, just quit. No. I learned from, he's deceased, Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was a great motivational speaker, and he had this thing called Your Success Through Network Marketing, right? That's when I was door knocking, selling prepaid legal, right, at one time, right? So I learned that through Mr. Dudley. He taught us that direct sales, if you can do direct sales, you can do anything. If you can take that rejection, you can do anything. That's where that door knocking came from, and we would stand there with a can of hairspray or shampoo in the cold in this liquid sunshine like it's raining out there today, right?
Yes, sir.
And we would do a script we memorized through a peephole. And if you could sell that hairspray in neighborhoods that people never knew you, and you could sell it through that door, you can do anything. You can take rejection in, so everything's easy to me now. That was hard. Right? Mm-hmm. And definition of easy is doing what's hard enough until the breakthrough happens, right?
Right.
So every time they say no, you have to tell yourself, I'm one more closer to my yes, right? So I was realistic. I'm gonna knock on 100 doors a day, right? If I get 10, guess what? And my average sale was 50, that's $500 a day, right?
Right.
That's easier to do than say I'm gonna make 5,000 this week. Because if I don't make the 5,000 that week, I'm gonna get discouraged. But if I got my 10, I could keep going. See, you have to be realistic with your stuff, and you have to groom and coach yourself and motivate yourself. So listening to this tape, he had a thing that caught my attention because I had a job and I had my own thing over here. But of course, I want to do my own thing because before my own thing could become big enough to pay my bills, I had to work part time. GNC, Little Caesars. We just talked about us getting a haircut, telling my barber everything about all the stuff we had to do, before we could work for ourselves, right?
Yes, sir.
You can't have too much pride. You understand? So it's the magic of part time is working your full-time job because that's your bread and butter, right? But realistic, putting it on paper again, your dream. I'm gonna have this podcast, or I'm gonna have this talent agency, I'm gonna have this recording studio, and that's all I'm gonna have to do one day. Even if I do other things, this is what I have to do, because this will be my bread and butter, not this. So realistically saying, do I have 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours? How much time a week, realistically, do I have to give to my podcast? If it's 2 hours, that's fine, because you're working. Make them the best 2 hours that you can give, man. Commit to them 2 hours every week. It's going to take longer, but it's going to happen. It's not going to be luck. It's just nothing, where your motivation meets opportunity, right? Your action meets opportunity is the luck.
Right.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
So that's it. That's a good advice I can give you is recruit passion, because if they're passionate, they're gonna be open to listen to you, so you can teach them. Okay? You can teach them. You can give them a skill, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, and then practice the magic of part time. Everything you do is say, I'm in this new endeavor. I can't do it but 1 hour. And be realistic. Because you don't want to get frustrated because you're messing your money up over here because this ain't making it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, I don't know.
I done threw you off, man. You ain't even got your questions.
Well, I mean, you're really good to interview. You just go and talk, and there's just so much to draw on and talk about. I have 3 other questions, but I'm not sure we have the. Okay, well, one of them.
Quick. Let's go.
All right, well, one of them, because you mentioned when people come to you and they say they want to start their businesses, what is one of the biggest things that they don't realize about starting their business until they're in it?
That when you throw your sign up, nobody's gonna be excited about it being up there as you. Be real with yourself. A lot of people go out, they don't try to get mentorship, they don't go to any workshop. You got programs around here that you can sign up that's free. Start Me, Amplify. You don't have to always go to somebody. I'll take your money, but you don't have to come to me and pay me for it. Because you're either gonna pay me cash or you're gonna pay me your time. Now, actually, your time is more valuable than your money, because you can never get the time back.
That part.
You understand?
Yes,
if
sir.
you waste 30 seconds of my time, I can't get that back. But if you waste $10 or $20 of mine, I just ain't got to give it to you again. Because I'm going to go make another $20. But I'm not going to make up that time. So remember that. The next thing is, I always tell them, just like I say, be realistic with your time. Where are you at right now? How much money do you have saved up? Do you have seed money to go into this? Do you have at least 6 months that you can survive off of money you saved up and live the way that you've always lived until your business jumps off? Your business may take off in a month. You guys got it easier than your moms and I had it, because you got to think, we didn't have this technology. We didn't have the internet when I was a teenager. My sign was written on a piece of notebook paper with a magic marker. We'll cut your grass for $20. That was my flyer that I was passing out. You understand?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't no 4x6 glossy postcards that we promote with. It wasn't any Instagram and Facebook. It was none of that. Not even internet, period, when I was 12, 13. So if we could do it and survive, why can't you? So just being realistic, when as an adult, a child, I ask those questions. Do you have any seed money? What are you doing right now? Have you done this before? Some people just see something, and a lot of people are followers, so more than leaders. So they'll see something and say, well, Miss Anderson's selling pocketbooks and successful over here. I'm going to sell pocketbooks. And you may not be good at pocketbooks.
Right.
Like I said, I was better at selling to women than guys. Guys wouldn't buy nothing from me for some reason. So I started selling perfume and earrings and stuff. And they bought it. Yeah. Question 2, that's 1. I got 2 more.
I'm trying to think.
I bet. We got 2 more.
Let me see. All right, so this is another one. What wealth generation or financial advice would you have for like young men and young women out there?
Start learning about investing early as you can. Because like I said, in this country, you got to be a certain age to work a job, not own a business. You got to be a certain age to get a job, man. So that tells you how the company is set up, right? Really, America is not really a country; it's a corporation. And you could prove me wrong. Look it up. It's a corporation. It's a capitalistic society. It's built off money.
True.
Not your feelings, not your beliefs. None of that is built off money. It's a corporation. That's all it is. And you are part of the assets of that corporation. Especially birth certificates old as mine and Social Security cards, every time you flip them over backwards, it's a number on it. And that number means something more than just them saying you number this, that, and that. They already can bet, and they could forecast what you're gonna be and what you're gonna do. So they can increase their gross national product and everything else. So it goes deep, and we could talk about this stuff all day. We don't have time.
Yeah,
But I would say get into whatever you're passionate or interested in doing. Study it first. It's easier now. You can go on Google and pull it up. Okay? Read about it. Reading people are ruling people. You understand what I'm saying? Not that you rule over people, but you make rules. You make the rules you read about work for you. So you become a ruler, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to learn to be a ruling person. You have to say, well, listen, people say, well, how you learn about that? I say, I read it. Then I tried it. Right? Right? That's that knowledge is potential type thing. Okay, so with, I would say if in investing, they have what you call a stock market game now. On the 18th of this month, I'll be in Lexington learning with the state economics for South Carolina. They're gonna be pushing where we're gonna bring youth in the schools together. And we're going to build teams, and they're going to compete against one another with a stock market portfolio. Because I could teach an 8-year-old the stock market in their language. I told you, everything that I write now, Doc, is based around kids. So that means the kid learn it, the adults can, right? So sooner or later, those children will lead. They will go home and start teaching their parents. You know, I know they will because I've done entrepreneurship and budgeting workshops, and that young person's gone home and said, man, Mr. Scott, I put this in front of my mom and them, and they said it helped them a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Because like I said, if it's on that level, it can be on that level. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So now you got the whole family coming together and teaching one another, and maybe even spending time at the dinner table again like they used to when I was growing up.
That's powerful.
Instead of just through the phone and texting, now they talking. We got dialogue going on, right?
Yes, sir.
Last question.
All right. My last question. Oh, this is another good one. Another good one that took me a minute to learn. And it actually speaks to how I met you. What are some of your networking tips for young people? Because that's something I really struggled with at first.
You may not know this song, but I guarantee your parents do. It's this group, these great poets called Outkast, right? Out of Atlanta. And they had a song that said, you got to get up, get out, and do something. That was one of their raps. Get out, get up, get out, do something. Why I say get up, you know the hardest door to open Mr. Dudley taught me? Some of the most simple things, you practice the KISS method, K-I-S-S. You know what that stands for, right? Keep it simple, sweetheart, right? It used to be keep it simple, stupid, but I don't want to call anybody stupid. You know, if I'm talking to a female, I may do a little young dialogue. Keep it simple, shawty. right? Keep it simple. We make things too complicated, man. Getting rich ain't complicated. Being successful is not complicated. Remember I said it's get started, don't quit. That's it. It's not rocket science, right? So what I would say on the networking tip, I get out and do something. That was my opportunity because you wasn't there Saturday and they heard me say how I met one of my mentors. I said I met him at a repast. He was serving, him and his wife. I walked by and I came back and said, I don't take this light. I don't normally do this, but you and I are supposed to be doing something together. And we are. A lot, all across the country now. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And in 5 years that we all across the country. So your gut feeling a lot of times is right. Okay? So if you get out and network, man, if you take that energy with you, that positive energy, then positive energy you're gonna attract it. If you take like you are and you're approachable person, you approach me. So y'all asking how do I get mentees and people I talk to? I tell you, they usually approach me, you know. So and I thank God, I became. He created me to be a youth magnet, a people's person. A lot of people approach me, and I really don't approach them, even though I'm an extrovert. So I would get out. I learned that shaking hands, good firm shake, dry palm, looking eye to eye. Being totally transparent and truthful about what you want from that person or whatever. When you asking them about that business or whatever, it opens them up. Now you got that energy and people when they're more relaxed and peaceful. That's why you know I play waves and music and because the body when it comes to liquids and fluids, it's more. Our body is more liquid in water than it is flesh.
Right.
You understand,
Yes,
right?
sir.
It don't take a drop of water to flatten the building. And you got over 70% in you, and we ain't making nothing move. So how can you let a drop of water do more than you?
Right.
See what I'm saying? And you got more liquid in you. So that's the type of stuff I say to my mentors and stuff. I'm constantly keeping them. And the last thing is, in order for you to be successful, man, watch who's in your circle. If I can't leave you with anything, nephew, the most important thing, watch who's in your circle, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, a mentor once told me that, listen, when a clown enters a palace, it doesn't make him king, but the palace becomes a circus. So if you don't care for who comes in your palace or in your space, they can mess a whole lot of things up for you, man. You know, everybody's not going to be able to go where you're going. It's going to be a seasonal things for some people. Some people are going to be scaffolding. When you're building a building, you got scaffolding, right? When they finish, they tear it down, right? Some people are going to be scaffolding in your life, and some going to be brick and mortar.
That's a bar.
Just remember that.
That's
Some
a bar.
scaffolding, some brick and mortar. Because I believe in taking good men and making them better.
Yes,
Instead of building buildings, I building people, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's all I ask you to do. Pay it forward. Whatever nugget I give you that helps your life, find somebody else or somebody that comes to you and give it back. Give it back, man. Leave them with something. And watch what happens to you in your podcast, how big it grows. All I ask is when you make it, let me ride in a Maybach. Right?
You will be, well, after those two, then you will get your chance.
Yeah, she'll let me. She'll come
Yeah.
and say, yep, your nephew wants you to
Yep.
ride with it. Okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate
No,
you.
thank
too.
you.
Thank
I
you for
appreciate
having me
it.
on.
I appreciate
I
it.
didn't mean to talk too much, but that's
Look, that's what it's here for. You know, it is. So I appreciate you for being the very first one to kick off this series. And you know,
number one. Y'all can never take that.
that's
Number
right.
one.
He the first one, the first uncle. And I hope you enjoyed the content today. If you did, definitely make sure to like, subscribe, come back next time because I will be having more uncles on and, you know, maybe some aunties later on. We don't know, but, you know, stick around to find out. And again, thank you all for watching.
It takes my uncles and me.